Okay. So it's funny because I feel like a lot of the wins, like I heard this consistent theme of like, I've got so much work, I don't know what to do with it, right? Or like, Jordan is like, dude, we doubled our revenue, from this time last year. He's on pace to surpass 2 million in top line revenue at a 25% net profit, it sounds like, if things continue, maybe a little bit more than that. And my talk today is really about how to stay booked in any economy. And what it's more designed towards is to address something that I think a lot of contractors feel is just a normal part of business, which is a slow season. And that's something I want to challenge today. I actually recently put out a video. We're starting to make more like organic content on social media. And I recently put out a video basically saying that the concept of a slow season for contractors is something that a lot of people think is just part of business. But it's something that doesn't have to be real. And it's something that a lot of people have more control over what they perceive as a slow season than they realize. It may look like doing things differently. It might look like doing things that you may have not done before, things that you may interpret as uncomfortable or inconvenient. But it's things that you can do as a contractor to stay consistent, to minimize those cash panic months. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. You have a really big couple of months, money's coming in, and then like the revenue just dips, right? So it's how to avoid those months, how to avoid a slow season entirely. And regardless, what it's really about is regardless of what's going on in the world, how any contractor business can continue to grow and be successful regardless of what's going on in the world, And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I do want to, so I kind of want to give like a not really a warning, but this talk will probably challenge some of you. It will probably challenge some belief systems. And what I'd like to revert back to, and I'd love to make this conversational, and so if there's some sort of an objection or issue or whatever, like you're not going to offend me or anyone else. I interpret that as, hey, here's my perspective. Help me gain understanding in your perspective, right? So I interpret that as a good thing. But it may challenge some traditionally held beliefs, and it might challenge some assumptions that you have made about your business and about contractors and the nature of the industry in general. But I would just ask to keep an open mind, hang with me. And I think I'd like to go back to something that I mentioned to every single one of you. I just got done talking to Charlie and Hanifa about it yesterday on our onboarding. Something I covered with each of you in our onboarding process, which is the second part of how to be successful in our program, is to embrace discomfort as a signal of your growth. So if you notice that discomfort is coming up, maybe there's something that hits you, I would encourage you to embrace that, right? Lean into that, because a lot of times that's where the growth opportunity is, right? So let's get into it. How to stay booked in any economy. What we're going to cover today is, I want to keep it kind of simple. There's not a lot of slides, right, compared to other talks I've given. The first thing, though, I'm going to address is like, what are the actual like economic conditions right now? We have gotten as a team a lot of feedback from different people that they feel like things have really slowed down. Even at Redmond Growth this past May was not like a great sales month for us in onboarding new clients, right? Now, we identified why that was, and we've fixed it since, right? It really had nothing to do with the economy. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, because it'd be really easy for us to have a slow sales month, be like, oh, it's the economy, but that takes away, we'll talk more about that. That takes away our ability to really contribute positively towards changing that situation when we have that mentality. But I want to address like, hey, what are the actual conditions right now across the country for contractors? Is it slow? What's making it slow? What are the actual conditions? The second thing I want to talk about is more of a changing of your internal narrative. I want to talk about reframing the way that we interpret like kind of global and national conditions and how they affect us in a way that can lead us, a kind of a perspective shift that can lead us to booking more business. And then the two other things we're going to cover is really, in order to stay booked, that's kind of solving a two-part problem. There's needing to generate new opportunities or leads, right? And then there is the needing to like close those leads, right? I've heard recently from people that their lead volume hasn't necessarily slowed down, but it seems like people are hesitant to say yes more so than in the recent past. So we're going to be talking about really things that you can do marketing wise and sales wise when there is economic conditions that may slow down people's decision making and create hesitancy towards saying yes. We're going to be talking about things you can do, and then we'll kind of wrapped up with a summary of all the systems that we talked about. So if you guys have something that comes up, I do want to make this kind of more conversational rather than me talking at you, right? If something comes up, feel free to raise your hand, and coaches, if you have something to contribute, as always, contribute. So let's talk about the actual condition right now. What is the real data on what's happening in the construction market? So to make a long story short, there are legitimate factors that are causing consumers across the country to have more hesitancy towards buying, right? Some of those factors are just something that you guys know very well. There is legitimate increased costs towards materials and the supply chain involved in providing those materials and sourcing those materials. Why is there increased costs? Well, it's not just because gas prices have gone up, right? It's more of a complex kind of problem where we are coming out of COVID, right? Then we started initiating a lot of these tariffs last year. There's kind of a war that we're involved with. So it's kind of like the perfect storm of all these things contributing together has led to the increased cost of materials. That's led to also the increased cost of labor, right? And so the main point is construction projects cost more now than ever, right? So that's creating hesitancy to buyers. Some data that kind of backs us up, and I have these sources. I didn't put them on here, but I do have the sources for all this data. If you were curious, I could provide those. There is notable declines in single-family permits and starts in 2025. So that's like a very verifiable data point that can be measured that has decreased in 2025. The American General Contractor Association has reported dampened expectations. What that means is that basically buyers are more hesitant, right, to pull the trigger on bigger projects because of recession risk, higher rates whenever someone's trying to finance, higher interest rates, and then higher labor costs as well. So with all that said, though, there has actually been an increase in activity for a lot of different areas. For example, if we look at the tailwinds, remodeling right now is across the country is hitting record highs. Homeowner renovation spend is expected to reach a new record of over 500 billion. That's 512 billion. Why is that the case? Because, and many of you guys saw this in COVID, because when interest rates are higher, that typically means that there's less people buying homes. And whenever there's less people buying homes, that initiates an increase of homeowners performing more renovations. Again, probably all you guys, do you guys remember experiencing that in COVID? Or did you guys experience that in COVID? I know that we saw that very clearly in working with our contractors. In COVID, it was like the only essential businesses could remain kind of active, and all our contractors were essential businesses. And what we saw was like a great influx, despite changes in the economy, despite everyone staying at home, despite this whole pandemic thing that we dealt with. There was actually a major increase to the amount of home renovations. That includes trades, right? So right now, remodeling is at record highs. 77% of residential remodeling contractors say that they're optimistic about 2026. And the basic idea here is that there is still a demand. So my takeaway that I give to you from all this data is that there is still a really high demand. Homeowners are renovating more right now instead of buying something new. Again, that's just a normal trend whenever interest rates go up. The demand is still there. However, buyers are more hesitant to make buying decisions because of recession risk, increased prices, things like this. They're more hesitant, but that doesn't mean that the market has been destroyed. That doesn't mean that buyers are not making decisions. That doesn't mean that there isn't opportunity. It just means that the buyers right now in the market are a little bit more price conscious before making a decision, which I think would correlate with a lot of your guys' experience right now. It's like I've heard from a lot of people that feel like they're going through a slow season, is that they're still getting leads, right? They're still doing appointments, but the deals are having a hard time closing them than they did in the past, right? So there is some friction out there for especially for new construction projects, right? If you're doing a ground up builds, right, there is less of a demand there. However, for the residential side of things, to do renovations, home improvements, like these kind of things, the demand really is there. Homeowners are more hesitant, but they're not gone. Does that make sense? Any questions about this kind of first layout of the land? We're good? Okay, let's continue here. So the first and honestly biggest thing that we are really big on here at Redmond Growth is changing the narrative. You know, there's a part of me that even debated whether or not I wanted to cover that first slide with you guys, because I become a little bit nervous that if we are acknowledging that there are legitimate economic circumstances, I get nervous that that then becomes a narrative that people buy onto, which dictate the kind of outcomes that they have, right? But the thing that you guys have to know, and this is more of a psychological thing, but it's real, is that your circumstances will not change if your narrative doesn't. When I'm talking about a narrative, I'm really using that word to describe the stories that we buy into and operate and follow a lot of times without even realizing it. It's like the stories that we believe and buy into that end up shaping our identity, right? That tell us who we are, what we can do, what we can't do, what's possible, what's not possible. But those narratives often have no correspondence at all to reality, right? There's not an objective force out there that is absolutely without any ability to change, causing one narrative to exist. This is an area of my life, guys, that I've had to really, really grow in. I have become more aware over the past few years of narratives that I've bought into about myself, about my abilities, about what my business can do, about what other people have said. And I've realized more without realizing it that I had bought into some limited growth kind of narratives, right? About what we can do, about what I can do, about what's possible. And it took the help of really a lot of other people and then a lot of introspection to realize, oh my gosh, there's so many narratives that I buy into that I just believe are true that actually have no correspondence to reality. And those narratives can be changed, right? So let's talk about it a little bit more. So like I was just talking about, this kind of first point here, we buy into narratives that dictate our actions that often have little correspondence to reality. The stories that we tell ourselves about ourselves and our business and about what's possible, about what I can do, what I can't do, have little correspondence to reality, right? What I mean when I say little correspondence to reality is that we have a tendency, just as humans, right, to experience something and then take that data point and build entire narratives or build entire stories around it, right? And those stories end up driving everything that we do. For example, if we're buying into a narrative like the economy is bad, right? So we may take a real data point. I just went over those with you, right? That's okay. The economy may not be as good, but then the narrative becomes there's nothing I can do, right? As I'm going over these, I want you guys to reflect on what narratives you've bought into. Have you actually challenged your assumptions? Economy is bad. There's factors out there. We're in a war with Iran, right? It seems like there's global trade has been really chaotic. The cost of oil has dramatically increasing the cost of supply chain material. All the things went over. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at the situation and the economy is bad. There's just nothing I can do. Right? That's a bad narrative. That's a false narrative. Another narrative. Oh man, I'm not closing like I usually do. Therefore, it must be the market. It can't be anything I'm doing. It must be the market. And you guys probably aren't even like consciously telling yourselves there's nothing I can do, or it must be the market. I don't have control over that. But we can easily subconsciously fall victim to those kinds of narratives, right? Hey, I'm not closing like usual. It must be a market thing, right? I don't know what to do, right? I guess I'll just wait it out is the next one. Oh man, my business is in a slow season. I've been in slow seasons before. I'm just going to wait it out, right? What I'd like to challenge you with today is to form a new narrative. You have absolute freedom to tell yourself a new story, even with certain data points being there. Because a lot of times when we create narratives from individual data points, the reason why it's a false narrative is because we're not including so many other data points that would actually positively change the narrative that we can tell ourselves, right? Like we just heard from, 3 people in this call at the beginning of this call. And I did not expect necessarily anyone to share that. But we just heard 3 stories of contractors in different trades in totally different parts of the country. Charles said he was booked out. He's based in Vermont, right? He does remodeling. We just heard from, gosh, I just went blank for a second. Jordan, sorry. We just heard from Jordan. He's an electrician down in Omaha, Nebraska. He's doubled his business year over year, and he doubled his business the year before, right? And so we just heard from people, like there's other data points out there, right? So economy is bad. Instead of saying there's nothing I can do, we're changing that narrative to what could I control right now? What could I play a role in changing in my business? What could I do that I'm maybe not doing? What could I do that honestly I kind of just want to avoid because it's more work and I feel really busy and I'm just going to settle for that narrative, right? We're looking into a new narrative. Hey, I'm not closing like usual. Oh, it must be the market. No. How about we challenge that, reframe that to let me go through my sales process and diagnose exactly where the problem is by reviewing each step that me or my team is following and seeing how we can enhance that step to cause buyers to want to say yes, right? It's a narrative shift. Hey, this is a slow season. I just have to wait it out. Hey, this is a slow season. I'm hearing from other contractors it's a slow season. Instead of waiting it out, this is my opportunity to get ahead, right? How can I get ahead even with these conditions at play? Your circumstances will not change if your narrative doesn't. And this kind of concept has power to positively impact not just your sales during a slow season or during an economic, downturn or whatever. It has the power to change your life in every single area. At the end of the day, I think what is important is for us to ask ourselves, who do we truly want to be? What kind of business owners we want to be? What kind of men do we want to be? What kind of women do we want to be? What values do we want to stand for? right? And then we shape our narratives around that. Because I know if you've made it to our program, if you've made it to Redmond Growth, that there's all really positive values that we all share in. But it's easy to forget those values whenever it's tough, whenever it's difficult, whenever we don't feel like we have control. I'd like to invite you to the opportunity to reframe that narrative about yourself, about your business, about what's possible by connecting that to the ideal version of who you want to be and making decisions from that place, right? Something my dad really talks about. Like, I grew up with my dad and Tim Redmond. Some of you guys know him. He's still involved in our business, just kind of behind the scenes. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to travel with my dad all over the world because he was a speaker. He would speak at like leadership conventions, business conferences, churches, right? And he would have me work his like product table where we would sell like CDs and books and things like that. It's not even really a thing anymore, right? But I remember something that he would say a lot is he would say, victims react, leaders create. The old narrative, this narrative over here, this is a victim narrative. Oh, there's nothing I can do. Oh, it's just what it is right now. Oh man, I just got to wait this out. I'm just reacting to what's happening. What a leader does is, even with the same circumstances, they tell themselves, how can I create an opportunity here? They go inward and say, am I really doing all that I can do? Right? Am I working as smart as I can work? Have I gotten lazy about inspecting certain things in my business, about holding people accountable to following things, right? Leaders create, victims react. I want to move on, but before I do, any questions about that? Any feedback on that? Mr. Chad.
So I was just thinking about some of the stuff you were saying, and last year was my slowest year that I've had in many, many years. And it was really kind of depressing. And I was just really kind of getting down on myself. And I went to lunch with one of my suppliers, and I have a roofing company, and he said, hey, it's not just you, he said, a lot of people are down. He said, we've got companies that owe us a lot of money that can't pay, going bankrupt and stuff, and so, I kind of walked away from the lunch, kind of thinking two different ways. I was like, well, okay, well, it's not just me. It's everyone. Because if everyone else was busy and it's just me, well, then I just need to fix me, but it's everyone. So I guess it made me feel good for just a minute, but it still didn't fix the problem,
Right.
And so the way I had to kind of restructure my way of thinking was, okay, yeah, it's slow, but there's still someone out there that's doing $3 million a year. There's someone company that's doing 5 or 10 or 20. And so I just got to figure out how to do what they're doing, It may be slow for me, but there's other people that are still doing numbers that I would love to get to. So I just got to find a way to get to those numbers, regardless of the economy or what's going on with everyone else,
That's the exact kind of narrative shift that I'm talking about right there. That I'm so glad that you shared that. In this video that I made that we recently posted on our Instagram, I talked about what you just said, how even in a slow season, even for traditionally slow season industries like roofing or HVAC, right, that there are contractors out there that stay consistent with work, right, that are doing millions and millions of dollars a year. And if they are able to do that, then that tells you, kind of like what you just said, Chad, that there's probably room for you to do more. There's probably opportunity, maybe, again, to do things that we're uncomfortable with, want to avoid, right? Like especially in roofing, it's like building a canvassing team, managing a canvassing team. It's like, that's not always the most fun thing, right? But could that be done? And could doing that lead to greater results, right? That's the exact kind of narrative shift I'm talking about. I'm glad you shared that. So let's talk about specifics. Let's talk about actual like things that we can do. So we talked about like the conditions. We talked about the importance of the narrative shift. After we have the narrative shift, it becomes a little bit of a knowledge problem, right? So hey, I want to, shift my narrative, but like, Robert, what do I actually do now? Like, I need help knowing what to do. I want to believe, Robert. I'm bought in. I drink the Kool-Aid. What do I need to do now? Right? Let's get into it. So we're going to first talk about how to increase lead generation and opportunities during slow seasons, right? And it's going to start with auditing what you're doing and go harder in what you're marketing. So, the first thing I want everyone to do is, if you are in a slow season, I would like to invite you. If it's a slow season, you've got time to do this stuff, right? So like, you can't say that I'm a busy contractor, I don't have time, and it's a slow season anymore, right? So, not all those things can be true. So if it's really a slow season, that means that there's time to put in some extra work, and not even necessarily a lot of extra hard work, but just more intentional work, kind of re-looking at what we're looking at. That's another thing that my dad says, that I heard him talk about in a lot of the speaking events that he did, is he would go around the room and he would basically say, in order to change your life, in order to change your influence on people, to change your success, you have to change your looks. That's what he'd say. He said you'd have to change your looks. And of course, like, most of the room would get kind of offended, right? Because they're like, what do you mean change my looks? Like, you have to change what I look like? And he said, no. When I say change your looks, I'm not talking about you have to change what you look like, but you have to change how you're looking at something. You have to change the way that you're looking at a situation, because however you look at something is what it becomes. If that's the only thing that you guys remember from today, then that is worth the entire hour. How you look at something is what it becomes. Try to experiment with that principle, right? Just try to do it in small areas of your life. How you look at something is what it becomes. So what can we actually do? The first thing here is audit your marketing. It's an opportunity to go back and look at, what are we not doing, or what are we not doing very well? Yeah, Bryce, I'm not getting any leads from my Google local services, right? Well, it's okay. How quickly are we answering the phone? How many reviews do we have? How long have we been up there, right? What else can we do? How else can we improve it? Hey, my Facebook ads aren't producing as much. Okay, do we need a better offer? Do we need to make a better video, right? Do we need another message? Do we need another script? The point is here that we're not settling for the current results, right? We're looking at the performance of what we're doing, and we're saying, how can we do this better, right? We're identifying gaps in our current marketing before we even go out and spend on new things. But we're also looking at those things that we're not doing. There's two kind of Redmond growth systems I want to recommend with this. And Bryce or Nicole would love your help in getting this in the chat. We have one document that's called advertising for, I think it's service companies or contractors, but it's basically a list of all the marketing, like exhaustively, that a contractor can be doing. For me, the reason why that document exists is because it felt like for a long time that like marketing was a saying where it's like this endless like world of like, there has to be more ways to generate leads. And there are a lot of ways to generate leads, but it's not like this endless, infinite, there's always different. No, there are specific ways that's limited. There's a good number of them, but there are specific ways that's limited for a business right now to generate an opportunity, to generate a lead. Right. And so what we did is we created a list. I'm having Bryce put this in the chat. We created a list of like, hey, what is actually all the marketing a contractor could even be doing? Like it's more of an informative, hey, if you're doing these things, here are all the other things that you can do. Right. And so that's another opportunity. It's to say, hey, we're not getting leads. It's a slow season. Okay, well, what are we not doing? What are the other opportunities that are out there? What are the other forms of marketing that are out there? Right? Maybe there's stuff that we've avoided that we need to revisit. Right? Maybe there's stuff that we said that didn't work that could work if we manage it in the right way. right? So that's the first thing is, hey, let's look at what we are doing. Is there ways to improve what we're already doing? And then what are we not doing? What are the other opportunities that we could pursue, the other marketing channels we could pursue, the other things that we could do that we're currently not doing that could lead to leads, right? So that's the first thing, audit your marketing. The second thing is to activate your past customer list. A couple of weeks ago, I sent you guys an email about and in the email, I included the stat that says that it is 5 times more expensive to acquire a new customer than to work with an existing one. It is 5 times more expensive, minimum. It can be up to 25 times more expensive. In addition to that, repeat customers spend on average 67% more than a new customer. Why? Because they already trust you. They already know the quality of your work. They already are familiar with your process and how you work with them. So they're much more likely to spend more. These are verifiable statistics. And if you want to check it out again, you can look up the email I sent. And that comes from activating a past customer list. And when I talk about activating a past customer list, I'm not just talking about like sending one email campaign and hoping that we get something from it. Although that is a good thing to do, right? But what I'm talking about is getting into a routine of staying in front of your past customers with maybe a monthly newsletter, with maybe monthly offers, maybe a weekly email that you send out that talks about different trends in your specific niche or your specific industry, opportunities, specials that you're highlighting, how your team is developing, new hires that you're getting, right? We're just wanting to come up with a reason. And the big thing that I'm getting at here is consistency and reaching out to the past customer base. There are gold in the hills of your past customers. And you want to be careful about making assumptions. Even I'm talking to GCs, construction guys, remodelers, right? Well, my customer did like $100,000 project with me, a $50,000 project with me, a $120,000 project with me. We wrapped that up a few months ago. There's no way they're going to want to do more construction. Well, maybe that could be true, but that also could be an assumption that we're buying into. Maybe another perspective could be that the customer is so enjoying the improvements to their home that there may be more that they want to do now, right? I know that my parents had did that after all the kids left the house. Like it started with redoing my mom's floors. And next thing that you know, like the whole entire house is redone. They built like this $120,000 patio, right? And it lasted for like on and off. There was construction work taking place, like one project at a time for like over the course of a year and a half. You may have had a customer that sometime during the larger construction process, remodeling process, mentioned the desire to want to do more. Maybe we revisit that. Maybe we intentionally reach out to that customer. Maybe we give them a reason to start now, right? It's activating the past customer list and knowing that those leads are always going to be your most affordable, least expensive, and the highest deal value leads is going to revisit your customer list. If you need help,
applicable for service companies as well. This is like when you're in your busy season, you might be lax on doing home safety inspections on every single job or having your team do home safety inspections. It's like, hey, if we're a little bit slower, if we have more time in the schedule, we absolutely have time to do home safety inspections at every single job. And it's not like we're selling things to people that they don't need. You have the opportunity, your foot's already in the door. You might as well let them know if something else needs to be taken care of or offer something that you think would add value to them or to their life. It's also when things are busy, we can get lazy about doing follow-ups. This is for service companies and, remodelers, longer sales process, following up with leads you never got a hold of, following up with estimates you've given, not heard back from. If it is slower or if you're having a hard time closing, then we absolutely should be doing these activities. This is your lowest hanging fruit. These are your warm leads. You have to start here. It's your cheapest and quickest way of getting revenue in the door.
That's so good. That's exactly right. It's easy to get caught up with, as a construction guy, as a contractor, it's easy to make assumptions. It's like people are only going to want to do one thing at one time, right? and I need a new lead in order to gain new business. And that's just not true. The 5 million, 3 million, the 10 million, $20 million companies that Chad was talking about, this is what they do. How do they get to that point? Come hell or high water, they stay in front of their past customers, right? So the next thing, train and incentivize your team to upsell, right? Your guys that are out on job sites every day, are they spotting additional work opportunities? All the stuff that I'm saying, by the way, like Nicole mentioned, is like both service and construction. This is absolutely applicable to everybody here, right? Maybe a customer, you're doing a larger remodeling project, and maybe you're beginning to learn the vision of what they're wanting. And because you're in tune with what the vision is that the customer wants, you and all your experience and your knowledge can recommend, hey, this would really go along well with it. Even if you didn't want to do it immediately right now, we could do it in 2 months. Here's why it'd be good to do that with us, right? Here's why it'd cost you less. Here's what you'd get out of it. Here's how to increase the value of your home, right? When your guys are running service calls, right? And we're sent in to replace something, right? We're giving the reasons of why we'd want to do more than that, right? We're giving the reasons of why we'd want to buy a higher quality product, right? We're incentivizing the team not just to upsell, right? But to look for additional opportunities whenever they're working, right? Ways to get more leads. That is the best opportunity that can exist because we're already paid for that customer, we're already in front of them, and we're just extending the value of the job, right? Second thing, fourth thing, keep hot pursuit, right? And this is just kind of like a auditing your lead flow type of thing. Another document that I really love for this is our 10-step sales process. Step 1, there's like 10 questions in that system, the Redmond Growth 10-step sales process system. Many of you guys are familiar with it. Step 1, there's like 10 questions to audit your lead flow. This would be your opportunity to do that, right? How quickly are we responding to leads? How much are we calling them after a lead comes in and they don't answer the first time? Are we texting them? Are we giving them a link to book a call with us, right? What is our follow-up like? Are we setting confirmed appointments after we review an estimate or proposal with someone, right? So that we have a time set in the calendar to follow up on that, right? We're wanting to maintain all those best practice lead management systems that you guys hear us barking about all the time here. It's an opportunity to examine that. Are we really doing all we can there? Creating a reason for a next project. This kind of goes with the upsell thing. Don't wait for them to call, right? Give customers a reason to think of you. This is where service agreements are really big, right? Nicole's told that story earlier of home inspections. I've worked with a business in the Tulsa area, Eklund Heat and Air. They're based in Owasso for years and years and years. And something that we've done is we've sold service agreements, which on the job increases the value of the job. But then during those slow times where it's like winter, their schedule stays booked because they do 2 annual inspections and they're able to examine someone's furnace, make recommendations, and book work from it, right? And it doesn't cost them any more money. In fact, they're making money every time. The last is the Dream 100 system, right? That's something that we could talk more about, but most of you guys are familiar with that. If you're not familiar with the Dream 100, it's basically a systematic way to build referrals by connecting and reaching out and getting in front of and building a relationship with the most likely people to give you referrals, right? I was meeting with a business recently that's wanting to get more into custom home building in rural areas. And so what does their Dream 100 look like? Well, it's not just real estate agents, but it's rural real estate agents who are doing land deals. It's showing up at land auctions, right? It's showing up with architects, right? It's getting in front of them, letting you know who they are and why they should choose you. And then there's an emotional progression that happens in that process. We can go more deep into that with your coach, but a very effective system, right? So here are 6 more ways to mine for more leads. Notice that I didn't put anything about spending more money here. Notice that I didn't put like YouTube ads, or like Google AdWords, right?
That's a
So,
really good point that I want to highlight. We talked about earlier, there's 1,000,005 different ways to market a company. There's a very limited amount of good ones. And when leads are
Yeah.
slow, it doesn't mean that we just need to be throwing money at anything and everything and trying all this new stuff. No, let's lean into what we know works and let's really audit what is best practice.
Fourth thing here, our last slide, we want to give them a reason to buy, right? If we are reaching people, if the leads are coming in, we're doing proposals for them and they're not saying yes, at the end of the day, it's because we are not giving them a good enough reason to buy now or to start the project now, or at least with us, right? If we are getting a lead, that means we have someone who has a sincere interest, right? Or even if they're wanting a price, they have an intention of doing a project, right? Of getting work done, right? But if they don't pull the trigger, it's probably because there's something in our sales process that we can enhance, and it's actually not based on the economy at all. Now, the buyers are more hesitant, right? So we need to be really intentional. We may need to work harder. We may need to give more clear reasons, right? We may need to differentiate ourselves better from our competitors, but we're wanting to give people a strong reason to buy, right? So this is kind of an audit your sales process list, right? And then where you can fix it, right? So the first thing is, are we making a compelling offer? Some of you may be like, well, what do you mean? I'm just giving them an estimate. That's exactly what I'm talking about. You're not making an offer, right? Could we come up with a compelling offer? What's a compelling offer? A compelling offer is something that would get you to move on a decision, right? Is the offer compelling enough to where if you were a person seriously interested in buying the services that you sell, would you actually respond to that offer? Hey, I have a 1-year workmanship warranty. Okay, well, so does every single guy that has ever existed that picked up a hammer. It's like that's not an offer, right? Compared to, hey, we have a lifetime warranty on any work that we do. If anything breaks, falls apart, whatever, doesn't apply to the cost of material repairs. But that's a much stronger offer. That causes someone to think about you and say, well, I would want to go with them versus the other guy, right? Hey, for people that start now, can we give them some huge incentive? Can we throw in some free fixtures, right? Some free products. Can we eat some costs up front to kind of be a loss leader to get us to close a larger deal and to upsell that deal, right? We want to make compelling offers. Audit your offer. If you don't have an offer, you can work with your coach, but just think about what would be a great offer that would get someone to buy, right? A lot of times you don't need a discount price to do that. You just need to be more creative in the offer that you're making. Clear value proposition. Can you articulate in 2 sentences why someone should choose you and not everyone else? And can you articulate that in a way where whatever you say isn't going to be what other people say, right? Why should people choose you versus anyone else? If you can't articulate that clearly, the customer won't be able to understand that clearly. If you're not saying that, if you're not actually getting a 1-sheet in front of a customer, right, during an appointment and taking them through those differences that you make, they're not going to pay attention to it, right? This next one is really big. Deadlines, right? Create a real reason to decide now. Hey, we have openings over the next 3 weeks, but they're going to fill fast. For anyone that books with us, we're giving a 10% discount on our labor in this period. We want to reward people who are committing to us. Our schedule is going to fill. We're only offering this for 3 weeks. If you can sign with us in the next 3 weeks, you're going to, and you're intending to do this, you're going to get a much better deal with us than anywhere else at any time, right? Make a deadline on it. Make it easy to say yes. Reduce the number of decisions in your sales process. If pricing is a big objection to people, are we offering financing? Are we telling them, hey, by the way, and I know a lot of people are hesitant to spend a lot of money on alpaca right now, which is why we've partnered with Enhancify. We have great rates. So long as your credit is decent, we can finance this whole thing and you're paying one low monthly payment. Oh, and by the way, if you're making improvements to your home, it's not even really an expense, even if you're financing it, because it adds immediate equity to your home that you can then later return for a greater return of investment. View this as an investment. Are we having that conversation with people? Right? And so these are all opportunities. Again, doesn't cost any money, like Nicole and I were talking about, that we can use right now to increase our pipelines, to close more deals, even among perceived economic downturn. The main thing I want to leave you guys with is that there is plenty of opportunity out there. We may just need to get more creative in the way that we're creating those opportunities. And that starts by reframing the narrative and reframing the story that you're telling. I love that story that Chad shared. He met with a guy, found out that, oh, it's slow. Everybody's slow. I guess that's just how it is right now. No, dude, there's businesses out there crushing it, doing tens of millions of dollars a year in my city, in my field. What are they doing that I'm not doing? What more can I do? Let's change that victims react mentality to a leaders create mentality. So that's it for today. I know it was kind of interactive and during the discussion we had here. And I know we're at just 1 minute over 10 o'clock a.m. Central. So if you got to bounce, that's totally fine. But does anyone have any questions or comments on this?
Really good. I appreciate everything. That was good.
Thank you, Chad. Jeff, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Robert. Yeah, well done. Well said. I just had a conversation with a company named Hearth to offer financing
Yeah, great
options.
company.
I'm just kind of curious. I think somebody touched on them last week in our group call, that they'd maybe possibly worked with them. I'm just curious if that's something worth pulling the trigger. They're somewhat steep upfront cost, not terrible, $3,000.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head of the advantage of or like the benefits of working with Hearth, but I know that they are a popular and reputable financer. What I would say, Jeff, is if they are making you an offer that seems attractive, that you believe that you could immediately begin offering to your clients, especially if you can begin to put that on your marketing materials, like from the very beginning, people know that they can finance with you, then that would be something I would really encourage you to just pull the trigger on. Something you got to think about sometimes when making these decisions, it's like, well, maybe there's a better financing company out there. But then you're talking about having to spend the time with meeting with them, hearing their pitch, evaluating them. And sometimes that can like stall the process of just getting the thing that's going to immediately implement your business. So what I say to that is, dude, if 3,000 does sound a little steep to me, last I checked, I think Enhancify is a similar company that I think they do 1,500 or 2,000 upfront.
Yeah, I think it's under 2,000, and they give you kickbacks for anybody who signs up. So a lot of my clients end up making that fee back. And one thing I know with Enhancify is when you apply through them, you apply through multiple different banks. So sometimes the chance of getting approved is higher, where someone like with Hearth, your opportunity is really only to get approved through Hearth, I believe. I could be totally wrong. But I would definitely look at a few different financing companies, see what their fees are, see what their approval rate is, and go with one from there.
Yeah, the Hearth sales pitch I got was pretty good. I mean, their marketing tools were pretty awesome, and so yeah, but might be a little bit steep on the price. So maybe I shop. Enhancify is the one you guys were mentioning.
Yeah. And that's not the end all be all. There's a ton of different ones out there, and they're all going to have marketing tools and QR codes and things, and we can even create flyers and stuff like that for you too.
That's right. And like Nicole said, there's a lot of them out there that can sometimes, the bigger thing I'm concerned about is that can sometimes create an analysis paralysis. Yeah. Where it's like we end up in the stage where we're checking out all the options and we're not really doing anything, right? So what I would say is check out Enhancify, just like go to their website. If what they offer is similar to Hearth at a lower price, then give them a call, right? But I wouldn't spend more than a day or two on it. And I would say by Monday, you're making a decision, right?
Yep.
So that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is like, hey, what's there? What's in your life? What's going to work, right? It's better to make the decision and pull the trigger on that, even if you end up spending a little bit more, because that's the thing that then allows you to immediately start offering that to people, immediately close more deals.
Yep.
Thank you. Good question. Okay. Yeah. Anything else? Jordan is already doing the countdown for us. Charles, you got something, buddy?
are talking about. That's
Oh, no.
people getting financing.
Hey, Charles,
Char-
it's pretty pixelated and distorted. I don't think anyone can make out what you're saying at all. You could try turning off your video.
Hear me
That
now?
sometimes, just because it's not processing as much.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I was just about the financing thing. Could you just go to like my local bank or something and see if they would help clients finance? Or
I would
that's
not
a good
recommend.
idea. I never thought of doing anything like that.
Yeah, I would not recommend going to a local bank. That's going to be a much more difficult process, and you're going to be limited to the options that that local bank provides, which probably won't be very good just because local banks are typically more conservative. What I'd recommend doing is looking at these companies that we're talking about now. Hearth, I think it's spelled Hearth, like the word earth with an H in front of it. And then another one that we're biggest on here at Redmond Growth is called Enhancify. That's ENIH. Alex, how do you spell Enhancify again? Pop quiz. Just try to top out the word Enhancify with an E in front of it. Right. Anyway, so those are
Hancify.
Yeah, SoFi does home improvement loans, Lending Tree. The thing about Enhancify is Enhancify will take your loan application and will actually take it to all these bigger banks like SoFi, and it will give the customer the best rate and terms. That's why it's awesome. A bank will never do that. Anything else, guys? Anything else? Good questions. All right. I appreciate everyone listening and being so receptive. I'm glad the talk was helpful. We will send this talk out in the slideshow here in the next couple of days. I will be out of office for the next couple of weeks. So, Dalian, what's up? Dalen.
Hey man, you mentioned a lifetime warranty. We do the year warranty, and that's like you said, anybody with any salt's going to give a year. But on a lifetime, I understand we can't do materials, but how do you explain in a manner that makes sense, but you're also covered on a lifetime warranty to be able to offer that to increase value? Because I've heard of companies doing it and I can't wrap my head around lifetime on anything.
So the main thing to understand about an offer is that to every offer, there are specific terms and conditions, right? And those terms and conditions really matter. So like in Redmond Growth, we have the full participation guarantee, right? For our middle and highest tier package. And we just really define what the guarantee means and how to qualify for it very specifically in our agreement. And that's what I would be, when you're thinking about these things, I think the first thing is to say that you can make the offer however it makes sense to you. For example, on the lifetime warranty thing, if you made a lifetime warranty on the nature of the workmanship that had nothing to do with materials like corroding over time or breaking over time, and you just acknowledge in your terms that, hey, there are certain things that will happen that don't have to do with the workmanship that we're not going to cover. But for anything regarding like the quality of something and how it was put together, we'll cover for life, right? And so the main idea is that you make the offer in a way that isn't going to put yourself or your business at a point where you're being taken advantage of. And if the lifetime thing seems like a little bit too much to commit to right now, maybe start with just a 5 or a 10 year. The thought behind that is that chances are people aren't going to hit you up 30 years down the road, right? Like it's just not going to happen. Another thing that you could do is you could offer a lifetime warranty, but only include it for like the first 3 repairs. Like again, you're offering a lifetime warranty, but the conditions and the terms are it's going to only cover so much, right? It's like when I'm buying, like I bought my Jeep, and it was like a, ultimate powertrain Mopar warranty. It's, the big warranty covers everything. But, once you hit 85,000 miles or are driving for 7 years, it's up, And so you can just create like whatever terms and conditions would make sense. You have the freedom to do that. Don't assume that lifetime warranty means, or anything in any offer, don't assume that it means I have to do this all the time and cover anything that ever comes up all the time. You can offer a lifetime warranty on certain conditions, right? Hey, once it gets to this point, then the warranty would no longer apply. Yeah, Rick Johnson says most people don't stay in homes that long. This is really good. This is what I'm talking about. Lifetime warranty as long as you do annual maintenance with me. Like, you can still advertise, we offer a lifetime warranty, even with conditions on that, right? Hey, the lifetime warranty is valid for any customers that sign up for our service agreement. So
that's really good. That is that's a cheat code I have not thought of.
That's exactly, dude, what is happening right now is exactly what I'm talking about in offers. I'm getting excited about this because I've faced this a lot too. Like, how do companies offer XYZ, right? And you want to think about it creatively. Like, a lot of times the offer, we can be hesitant to want to make a strong, compelling offer because it's like, well, that's going to screw my business. But you make terms and conditions around it where the offer is still compelling, but it makes sense, right? You can tell a customer, hey, I can't offer, if they're like, well, this isn't a real lifetime warranty. That will never happen, by the way. And you can say, well, hey, I can't warranty something that I'm not doing regular maintenance of. This is an infrastructure that needs regular maintenance, just like a car, right? And so that's really, really good feedback. Yeah. So when you're thinking of a compelling offer, it's easy to get trapped into thinking that just whatever the name of the offer is, I have to always do that, and that's not the case. There are creative ways that you can make an offer that actually don't stretch your business too thin right now.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, really good feedback, Rick. Appreciate that. Jay.
I was just going to throw out there that I got a call a couple of days ago on a roof repair. There was a leak on a roof that I did 8 years ago that at that point in time, I was offering 10-year workmanship warranties, and it was just leaking around a vent pipe. And so I sent my guy out there to do it. It cost me, $150 to send him out there. And the guy my customer actually wanted to pay me. He was like, hey, I know it wasn't really the roof, per se, it was a vent pipe or whatever, and let me pay. And I'm like, no, it's good. It's, it's part of my warranty, and it's that. So yeah, it cost me $150. My customer loves me even more. And of the probably 80 roofs I did that year with a 10-year warranty, he's the only guy that's called me ever. More than 2 or 3 months afterwards. So and I really was hesitant to do the 10-year warranty, but it was just something that I was like, hey, that's, I just figured with hailstorms, most of those roofs would be replaced in the first 6 years anyway. So yeah, it didn't really affect me. But anyway, I think it's a great thing. I hadn't thought about it in the GC world, which I'm trying to kind of wrap my head around it like Mr. Hall is. But I think that might be a good selling technique or selling point, because we can construct that in a way that, hey, I understand your tile cracked, but that was because your foundation moved. It wasn't anything that we did, right? So there's a way that we can protect ourselves. And then as long as we're doing a good job, it shouldn't matter, right?
That's right. That's right. I really appreciate you sharing that story. Something else I got from that story that's important to think about with this kind of lifetime warranty. When you make warranties like long-term warranties, like we're talking about, like making a lifetime warranty also gets you a lifetime customer. Like James was in a situation where, the warranty work, the customer was wanting to pay for it, but that could have also been an opportunity where now Jay's getting his foot in the door again. It's been 8 years, right? It's an opportunity to say, hey, here are all the things all the additional services we offer now that we didn't offer last time you worked with us. That's the opportunity to get a customer, And so that's another thing is a lifetime warranty, 10-year warranty means you're getting a lifetime customer, a 10-year customer. So anyway, something else to think about. Really good feedback, guys. Anything else, guys? Anything else before we wrap up for today? Cool. All right, we've got 13 who remained. You guys are the real ones. All righty. Well, I know we don't have we had, I think, about 42 in here, and now we're down to 13. So it's not going to maybe be as loud, but I still like to end with a countdown, right? If you're new here, how we end is we count down from 3, 3, 2, 1, and then we all say growth on the word after I say 1, right? So unmute your mics. Unmute your mics. It's going to be a football breakdown. Damon, good to see you. Rick, good to see you. Leslie, good to see you. All right. 3, 2, 1. Growth. There we go. Good to see you, man. Jason, good to hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take
Tony,
care.
take care, guys. Great to have you here this morning.